what is your thoughts then on the future of tabletop RPGs and this hobby? Because I mean, in a certain sense, we're of course living in a golden age because we've got more than we can ever like play.
Right,
On
right.
the morning grind, I'm looking at RPGs every day. So but at least at one point we were all kind of unified around Dungeons and Dragons. Now there were other options, Pathfinder or whatever, but now we've got just this eruption of more than ever of things to play. Everyone is creating their own variation. Sometimes they're very, very different RPGs. Sometimes they're more like what we talked about in the grind. It's like this is somebody's home brew or like a home
Right.
rules. That's a variation of this set. So it's relatively minor. I mean, it might still be good. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying where do we go from here? Like in a very fragmented world.
So the thing that was really successful about the OGL thing that I honestly I think was way better than just what we got out of the OGL or the SRD going into CC was the fact that there are basically the biggest YouTube influencers in the D&D sphere that are now expressively moving on to other TTRPGs. Bob Worldbuilder is plugging basically Dungeon Crawl Classics over there like crazy. He did a video on Cairn the other day, and I believe he's going to start moving his campaign over towards Shadow Dark, from what I understand. Several people have been basically forced to address the fact that this game has had a monopoly in the scene for a long time, right? A thing that I I think is a very, very huge positive out of all this is I would love for people to not think about like this is the definitive game that we're using to run a long-standing campaign in. And let's start normalizing the idea that like you could play a TTRPG for like 5 to 10 sessions and let that be like, you don't have to tell the critical role scale epic campaign things. It could just be you all wanted to go.
Most people don't.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like the critical role experience I think is extremely rare. And I'm not talking about just the quality of the players or the DM or anything like that. I'm talking about a long form campaign like that. That kind of consistency is extremely rare. So I'd like to kind of push the idea for people like, why not try out a system for like 5 to 10 sessions? Your group gets together. There's a group here in Tulsa that's like nothing but play testing. They just do play testing TTRPGs for like a couple different sessions and then they move on to another one, right? They don't stick to one for like every story they ever tell. And I think that that's becoming more common as I've been kind of watching my community talking about other TTRPGs. I think the one that I would very, very much recommend to people if you want to kind of reset your brain on what you think a TTRPG is, I would check out Shadow Dark. Merkborg is also one of those ones that you're like, how much punch can they give you out of a 70-page, rule book? Like it's insane. And we don't necessarily need to tell Lord of the Rings scale stories. We can just tell the Battle of Helm's Deep. Like we can focus on a couple of chapters out of the book, not necessarily an epic spanning campaign. So I think we're seeing a change in the kind of the public zeitgeist and talking points around TTRPGs. Definitely seeing people more willing to throw jabs at WotC. And I think here for the future, I think it's going to be a better architecture because I don't know how much you really catch up with like the actual play scene, but there are 30, 40 different TTRPGs currently, like probably, I don't know about currently being played on Twitch, but whenever Twitch is at its most active, I see a ton of different systems pop up over there. And D&D, honestly, is not bringing in as, other than Critical Role Nights, it's not like D&D has the lion's share of the TTRPG scene over on Twitch either. It's kind of divided. So like, I'm glad to see people are checking out other systems. I love the engagement and I love talking about other games as a content creator. I think I personally got super burnt out on talking nothing but 5e. And now that I'm talking about other systems, I'm stoked to see a lot of projects coming out that are doing some really bizarre stuff. There's an upcoming Kickstarter I want to recommend to you. You should definitely check out Triangle Agency.
Okay.
I'm not affiliated with them or anything like that. But they have a very unique system.
Okay, I'll look them up.
Yeah, you check it out. Yeah. If you're into like the SCP Foundation style, like secret agency thing, Triangle Agency is looking very cool. Especially if you're a fan of like Blades in the Dark. But yeah.
Okay. All right. I think, I might have actually seen you. You've talked about that on your channel before, right?
I did a video on it about a week or two ago, but not like a huge thing because they've only released a I think it's called like a Delta preview. But the whole game is essentially just a pun on TTRPG mechanics, and it's amazing. Triangle Agency itself, it's a D4 based system, so triangles, you're trying to hit threes. If you roll the 3, you get agency over the story. It's super funny. But yeah, especially for more narrative based like TTRPGs, it's looking really good.